Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new Ninjago video here on the channel. My name is TannerFishies. In today's video, I am very happy to be kicking off my series of Ninjago Crystalized set reviews by taking a look at set number 71772, the Crystal King. This guy retails for approximately $79.99 USD, or $80 if you want to round up there, and the entire set contains 722 pieces. My goal for this video is to just go over my opinions on this set, talk about the things that I like, the things that I didn't like. Obviously enough, this video will just contain my own opinions, and I am not a professional LEGO reviewer by any means, so keep that in mind. LEGO reviews are not necessarily a huge part of my channel's content, but I do want to talk about many sets that came out of this Crystalized wave, especially in the case of this guy right here, because the Crystal King was my most anticipated set of the entire selection. And after building this guy and sitting on him for a couple of days, I have some things to say regarding the Crystal King set overall. In terms of the packaging, this is what we got for the box. It's a pretty straightforward and solid LEGO box. Great colors, great image of the set itself on the front, and on the back you see some of the more fine details of the set. Very simplistic design, but effective in what it's trying to do. Alright, so starting things off by taking a look at the minifigures themselves before we dive on into the Crystal King build, here we have the new Lloyd. He is the only good guy that you get in this set, and he is known as Fugitive Lloyd from my recollection and from my understanding. I like his colors. He's got dark green, regular green, he's got a little bit of gold and brown in there too. His shoulder armor is gold, though that's actually not accurate to how we see this figure in the show, or at least how we see this outfit represented in the show, but that's okay. We can always swap that out with a gunmetal gray one eventually. And of course, he's got two swords, one golden katana on his back, and one Ninjago movie Lloyd sword, whatever you want to call that there. It's the same sword that he used in the Ninjago movie, obviously. And overall, I like this figure. It's a good representation of Fugitive Lloyd, though it's not 100% show accurate, and in terms of other printing, other stuff going on, his mask is newly printed with a white logo instead of a gold one. And of course, for the face, surprise, surprise, same face that he's been using for years, so nothing too new there. But overall, I like this version of Lloyd. It's fun to get at least one good guy in the set, and I think Lloyd was a pretty good choice because multiple of his villains are in this set as well. Speaking of which, here we have the first one in the Crystal King. This is not the full version of the Crystal King. That figure actually comes in some other sets, but this go around we get this shorter version of the Crystal King with only 2 arms instead of 4, but I think this guy is still looking pretty spectacular. He's got dark gunmetal gray as his primary color with gold, purple, various shades of pink and whatnot. Overall, this is a really cool minifigure, but I do appreciate the larger, more complete Crystal King more so than this guy. This guy feels kind of incomplete, but he does have some cool stuff going on. I love that torso printing with the Overlord symbol right there. Gee, I wonder who this guy could be. And he comes with a transparent pink katana and whatever you want to call this whole thing on his other arm. He's like shooting lightning or whatever. He's not a bad minifigure by any means. I just prefer the more complete, more, I guess, official looking Crystal King, but you can indeed flip up his little Oni mask type thing there to reveal his lovely scary face underneath, and yeah, he definitely looks like the Overlord to me. Maybe he will be revealed to be the Overlord in the show. That's most definitely going to be happening at some point. I also need to comment on his face, his little Oni mask style face there. It's big, it's beefy, not really painted the best though. They could have definitely painted those teeth golden, but overall, this Crystal King minifigure is totally a-okay. I'm fine with it. It's just not as perfect as it probably should have been. However, speaking about perfect, here we have Harumi in her new crystallized attire, and she looks great. I love how this figure looks quite a bit. She looks amazing. She has 2 pink katanas as well, those transparent pink ones, and overall her outfit is really awesome. She also has the Overlord symbol on her chest there. I love the combination of purple and dark gray. The back of her is pretty much covered by her hair, but let's just take that hair off really quick so we can get a closer look at that alternate face as well. There you go, a more sinister, evil expression, as opposed to the front where she looks a little bit more happy, dare I say, more maniacal, I guess you could say. Let's put her hair back on to complete that look once again. Overall, I like Harumi as a character. I like this new rendition of her minifigure, and I feel like this will look great with the rest of the Harumi minifigures in my collection. Next up, we have a few of these foot soldiers. This guy specifically is known as a Venge guard, and I gotta say, these guys right off the bat look really cool. This guy in particular has this nice double-bladed crystal weapon, looking really awesome there. Love those new blade pieces, and the colors on these guys as well really pop. Nice combination of translucent pink, gunmetal gray, purple, yellow, very much Venge Stone-esque. I also love their new shoulder armor piece, which if we flip around to the back, you can see that it does have some studs on the back. You can add wings or whatever. Some of the other crystallized villains have something like that going on there. This guy doesn't though, very much open on the back, but I love that head. And actually that head is one solid piece, no minifigure head underneath, just one solid monstrous looking piece. Overall, the Venge Stone guard here looks pretty intimidating. I like him quite a bit. And then we have this guy. This guy is known as a Venge Stone warrior. Different torso printing than the Venge Stone guard over here, as you can see. Very, very different in terms of torso print, which I like. There's some nice variety going on there. He has a similar weapon, but it only has one blade. And overall, Venge Stone Warrior here, just as cool as the Venge Stone Guard. I like these guys quite a bit. Love their colors, love their scariness, I guess you could say. That head sculpt is shared throughout all of them, from what I can understand. There's not like different head molds or anything like that. And moving right along here, we have the Crystal King himself, and he looks pretty massive. As you saw in the intro, he is a four-legged centaur kind of thing, and I think that's awesome for the Crystal King. He's also quite large. Just comparing him to a minifigure really quick, yeah, he's a pretty good size. I like that a lot. I think he could be a little bit bigger though, but we will talk about that here momentarily. But overall, this guy is a very, very good size, and as such, it might be a little bit hard to record him, but I will try my best with my limited desk space right here. Let's start off by taking a look at the upper body, and then we'll take a look at the rest of the build as we go throughout the video. If there's one thing that I enjoy in particular about this build, it is the head build, I guess you could say. Not really a mold, more like a build. Not really a sculpt, but a build. You actually build up this head. It's not one of those specialized rubber pieces or anything like that, and it has some good articulation to it too. It is on a ball joint, so he can look all the way around. You can have him look up that far, which is pretty spectacular. You can also have him look down that far, not too far down, but I do like how they constructed his head. Overall, I like how this guy looks in terms of a head. He has a nice crown there, which I think is good. A nice golden crown with some of those new crystal pieces jutting out the top of it. I also like how they did his eyes there, looking really nice. You can also adjust these flaps if you want to give him a different kind of look, but I honestly just like to keep the flaps in like that. That is good enough for me. Overall, yeah, really good in terms of a head build. No real complaints from me coming from the head. I think that head build is really nice. The body itself has an interesting shape. The entire body is sort of comprised of this large canopy piece right here, and the body itself is hollow. If you move these pecs, I guess, which do have stickers on them, which, you know, stickers are annoying, but they do add detail, so that's good. We can also move these rib cages out of the way, which are not the most fitting attachment. Sometimes those do pop off on me, I've found out. But you do have this nice clear windscreen right there, and if you want to, you can open that up like so. You can take a look at the inside of the actual Crystal King, and the reason why he is hollow here is because he's basically a mech. You can bring in the Crystal King minifigure that we took a look at earlier, put him in a sitting position, and you can go ahead and stuff him on in there if you so desire, and it's kind of a hard fit. He is quite large, especially with that noggin. He just connects with a couple of studs down there, but you can close him up, and now he will be driving his Crystal King mech. Close up the rib cages, close up the pecs, and there you go. Now he's all in there, all snug, ready to go rule Ninjago. And obviously I'm not sure if this is going to be a mech in the show. Doesn't look like it. Looks like the entire Crystal King is just a more updated, larger version of the Crystal King minifigure. This is like his final form, I guess, but in the sets they made him a mech. Understandable. There's also not a lot going on in terms of articulation for the actual body. There's not like a waist joint or anything like that. He does have these flapping wings, which we will look at here in a second, but in terms of the body, not really much that you can do in terms of articulation except opening it up and fitting the Crystal King inside. I also really enjoy the arms as well. The arms are pretty nice, very strong looking. They use this body piece that was used on some of the core mechs to provide shoulder armor. That's nice. You can move that up and down if you want. It also has some ratchet joints at the shoulder, so you can ratchet the arms around, pose them any which way that you like. That's good articulation. I like that quite a bit as well. You can also go out a little bit, and what's cool about the shoulder armor being on this hinge is that once you lift up the armor goes with it and constantly covers the shoulder, which I think is awesome in terms of a design. He also has these stickers right here, which, you know, stickers are stickers, like I said, but they do provide detail. I like that. Also, there's a bend at the elbow, ball joint at the elbow. You can do what you want with the elbow, and the actual claw itself is kind of weird because the thumb is kind of bent at a really awkward angle. As you can see right here, it's not the best angle. For the thumb, it looks kind of strange and almost looks like his thumb is dislocated. You could easily adjust that thumb though to make it look normal, have it be pointing forward, but according to the box and the instructions, that's how it's supposed to be, which makes making a fist kind of a weird thing to do because he's kind of like tucking in that thumb underneath. Not a huge fan of how that looks, to be honest, but the claws I like. Pretty good claws. You can open them up and he has some pretty intimidating looking fingers. The hand is also on a ball joint, so you can move that around. any which way that you like. He also has some clips in there, so if you want, you can indeed have him hold his staff in his left hand as opposed to his right hand, which is what I have going on right here currently. And the arm over here is the same as the other one, except obviously reverse of what the build is over there because it's the other arm. The Crystal King also has this nice staff, very simplistic staff build right there. Not the most impressive in terms of Lego engineering, but it does include this nice tip on there, which is a brand new piece for this wave from what I can understand. It's a nice big pink crystal. It looks awesome. Same ones are used on the wings back here, but overall the staff, not the most impressive thing ever, but you can get some pretty sweet poses out of the guy. I do like that. He is very well articulated, so you can have him in like a striking pose like that if you want with his staff. I think that's always fun. Posing opportunities are very abundant on this guy. Lots of stuff that you can do to pose, and I think that is very impressive to say the least. As mentioned, the Crystal King also has these nice wings, which can be posed independently from each other. They're not like connected by any means, but you can pose them any which way that you want. They use one of these large pink pieces, same one used on the staff, and these things which you can adjust if you want. You can also pose each of these wing tips if you want as well. Just kind of depends on how you want to pose the thing. The other wing on the other side is the exact same. I also do like how the overall design of this guy includes a lot of these little pink crystals. That's also really cool to see. You'll see those throughout the entire build quite a bit. Turning the guy on his side quick and just adjusting those wings, you can kind of see what we're looking at here in terms of a body. I do think that this centaur design is kind of, it's definitely a choice. It's very much a choice. I think it works though, oddly enough. It might be a little bit hard to see, but the actual leg itself doesn't really have a knee, so to speak. Instead, they use one of those new CCBS joints to kind of simulate a knee, which isn't the most, I guess, articulate design out there. The legs can also not be spread out anymore. They are locked in there with Technic parts, and that's not the best design either. You can kind of see how that looks. Not very much articulated in terms of the actual leg itself. However, the feet do have articulation. They are on ball joints, so you can move those around any which way you want, and the actual toes can spread as well. So you got toe articulation, but not really much in terms of leg articulation. The least that I would like is to maybe spread the legs a little bit more, but you know, whatever. We do have some type of simulated knee in there. That's better than nothing. The back legs, for some reason, you can pose around. You can indeed spread those. Those are on ratchet joints for some odd reason. If anything, the back legs have more posability than the front legs, which is definitely a choice that I do want to question, but you can move those around any which way that you want. They are on ratchet joints, and the feet themselves, same deal with the front. You can articulate those toes. Awesome. And the foot itself is on a ball joint. So articulation in terms of the legs, very weird choices. I do have some questions regarding why they decided to make the back legs more posable than the front legs, but whatever, whatever works, I guess, right? The actual body itself, just kind of panning up a little bit, the actual body itself is also sort of bent already at an angle. That's not really articulation right there. You just already have that bent in there, and that's definitely a choice as well. Not really sure how to feel about that per se. It does make an interesting body shape, so that's good. But overall, yeah, articulation on this guy leaves quite a bit to be desired, but that doesn't mean you can't get him into some cool poses and some cool looking shots. I just think the legs could have been better articulated just a little bit, and even with the body as well. I would have loved to have somehow seen some type of waist joint, some type of waist rotation. That would have been a lot of fun as well. You can pose these little skirt things around if you really want to, but it doesn't really do much. You can do that if you want. You can do this. Wow. Like I said, doesn't really do a whole lot, but it's there, I guess. Can't say that it's not there. And he has a tail. Very, very flexible, very bendy looking tail. Ball joints all around. You can pose that tail any which way that you desire. The back of the guy also has some detailing right here and right there. So at least they tried to cover up the back a little bit. I'm also not the biggest fan of how the back of the wings look, with all of those anti-studs exposed back there. Not the biggest fan of how that looks per se. There's also another joint right back in here that if you want to, you can make the head look back even further or look up even further. Forgot to mention that earlier, so that's something that exists there, I suppose. The wings themselves can flap. Like I said, they are on hinges, so they can flap every which way if you want him to flap his lovely wings. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it for the back of the guy. I'm not the biggest fan of how the back of the legs are built either, especially the back legs, which have a lot of studs open on the back. Not the biggest fan of that design choice personally. And yeah, just kind of wrapping up my quick thoughts on the Crystal King build itself. It's definitely not bad. I may have been complaining a lot in this video, as of so far, but I do not think the build itself is bad. It just leaves quite a bit to be desired. I think the hands are pretty easy fix. The exposed studs all around that look kind of unfinished, I could easily fix that. But in terms of the leg articulation or lack thereof, I think that is a big negative of the set. At least the upper body is pretty posable. You can get some pretty sweet poses out of the arms and the upper parts of the body, including the neck and the wings as well. So the entire build, while posable to an extent, leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of articulation. Otherwise, the build itself is fantastic. I think that this guy is pretty cool looking. I also love his colors, the gold, the dark blue, the gunmetal gray. I just think the biggest problem of this set is definitely the lack of articulation in some areas and some building choices being a little bit questionable, as I said. But overall, I'm not ripping on this guy too much. He is quite a bit of fun to build and pose and just kind of explore. Really quick before we wrap up the video, here we have the instruction manual. I've seen a lot of people complain about the instruction manuals this go around, and obviously, yeah, the artwork isn't as fantastic as it probably should be, but it's the instruction booklet. I don't think it's worth getting upset about. And here we have the extra pieces that you get in this set, and of course the all-important brick separator. All good leftovers here that will make fine additions to my collection. So overall, to give my final thoughts on the Crystal King set as a whole, I do think you get some great minifigures. You also get an excellent build in the Crystal King, but some parts of the build do leave a little bit to be desired, especially the back legs and those hands. Not a huge fan of how those things went together, but I find it hard for me to not recommend this set. It's pretty good overall, just with a couple of minor things that keep the set from being perfect in my opinion. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Be sure to leave a comment down below discussing what you think about this set, and of course I will be making several more Ninjago Crystalized set reviews in the future, so stay tuned for all of those as well. Until then guys, thank you all so much for watching this one. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys again in the next video. Peace.